Welcome back, everybody. And this is Virtue here for Virtue's brand of wrestling on the BigVitoBrand.com. As you can hear, my voice is a little hoarse for chanting Kofi Mania in the middle of all the Kofi marks. This might have been, Rob, the best work of my career. I think I blended in. I don't know if you caught that video. What's up?
I watched it. Hey man, good to be here again. Yeah, I thought the video was really funny. It's weird. Not as many people seemed as into Kofi as you were. If that's the video you're referring to, that was strange to me. Isn't that crazy?
I mean, that was about halfway through the entrance. I think they were already hitting the ring. So it's weird because when they do these chants, they never sustain more than 10 seconds and then they're already tired. That just goes to show you the culture of these fans, the lifespan of it is very, very short.
He's not chasing anymore.
Nope. So let's talk about the whole weekend. We're going to go back to NXT on Friday. So I was there at the Barclays Center. Did anything stand out to you about this show? Now, I was there live, right? And I was in New York City, Manhattan, Brooklyn, Queens, the Bronx for a whole week. So I was in vacation mode. I gave NXT an A- from the standpoint of there live. I had a good time. Now you got to remember, when I'm there live, I like to root for, with the exception of that Kofi video, the people that nobody else likes. Now at NXT, I really couldn't do that because they like everybody.
Yes.
But I kind of went into business for a couple of people, such as Matt Riddle. They love Velveteen Dream, and some people
as do I.
And some people don't like Matt Riddle because he doesn't wear shoes, and they think the surfer bro gimmick is kind of lame. I'm sitting there screaming, he's your next Brock Lesnar. You're going to have to deal with him headlining WrestleMania. Now, I know that's way too in advance, but that's how I got my enjoyment out of NXT. So what was your thoughts on it? So I gave it an A- because being there, it was a fun show, but I could only do that once a year, twice at the most.
Yeah, so I would say that while I am jealous that you got to see it live, definitely watch back the recording of it because it may have been one of the best called commentary WWE style events I've ever seen. Things I took away from it, the Velveteen Dream is legit. I think this guy is the next big thing. Now, let me ask you this. Live Virtue, is he as charismatic? Does he ooze the charisma in person as much as he does on TV?
I would say yes, but you probably see it even more so on TV because when you're there live, it gets confusing because the fans pop for everything. So it's hard to gauge what they like more.
Yes.
And you're looking at Tron sometimes because, we were sitting up a little bit, farther from the ring. So you look at the Tron sometimes, it's like watching it on TV. But it's hard to gauge because at NXT, everybody's over, with the exception of one person, and I'll get to that.
Sure. But yeah, no, that guy stood out to me. His match was incredible. I am a big fan of the Velveteen Dream, and I think we've talked about the Dream before. Actually, the next point I have on there from NXT is something that I had asked you, and I think you said you would get back to me. What is the big selling appeal of Walter, and how is he different than Baron Corbin?
So I thought you were going to say Matt Riddle. And of course, had you asked that question about Matt Riddle,
talent though. I can identify talent.
I like him doing the shoot style where you'd think that match, could it be real? I mean, we know it's staged, but
right.
I like that real aspect that Riddle brings from the MMA aspect, probably more so than Rousey does. Walter, I was like, I've never heard, I don't watch NXT weekly. I will catch some stuff on YouTube or social media, but then I watch the takeover events because to me, 5 shows a year, 6 shows a year, that's all I can handle. So I'm looking at this guy and I'm thinking, wow, he looks like Vladimir Kozlov, but, British or whatever. I don't know. I don't know if it's just because he's like an indie guy from the NXT UK, and that's the appeal of it. I don't know why people like him, to be honest with you. Pete Dunne, now I get. Smaller guy, but he's plays the Brock Lesnar role, but is a small guy.
That makes the little things, yeah.
That makes sense. Oh, and God forbid I called it the NXT UX Championship, which that was a typo. I meant UK.
Yeah.
Oh, but no, it's not the NXT. It's the WWE UK title. Oh, okay. Maybe when they created it, but now it's the main title of NXT UK. So it's the NXT UK Championship, people. I'm sorry.
Right. I mean, was it defended at WrestleMania?
Nope.
Then it's an NXT title.
It was defended on NXT.
Yeah.
So
and then,
I don't know. He's just a big goof that
yeah.
moves slow, and it's like, okay, if he's over that way, why can't Braun Strowman go up to the top rope and come down with a splash and get over?
Right, 100%. So I don't see the appeal of Walter. I get, the top rope powerbomb was neat, but I like big spots and I love power bombs, and I think it's an underutilized finisher today. But yeah, I'm sure I'll get a lot of hate because I know people that watch this channel absolutely love their NXT. But if you guys could tell me in the comments, why is Walter a thing and why is he so popular, I would very much appreciate that.
Dude, and the thing is, like, Walter, what kind of name is that?
It reminds me of the Big Lebowski. That's all I can think of every time I see him come down there. That's it. Just John Goodman.
So other takeaways from TakeOver, like, of course, I like the Velveteen Dream Statue of Liberty gimmick. That's superstar level when you do stuff like that. Everybody was, hooting and hollering for that tag match, which kicked off the show. And I'm like, okay, it was a nice hot opener, but anytime a match finishes, best match ever. Like, why is that the culture of wrestling? Best match ever. It's either the best match ever, or if you're talking main roster stuff, oh, it's horrible. It's the worst match ever.
Yeah,
it's always one or the other.
Somebody could have the match of their career on NXT and the next night have the same match on Raw, and one of them would get a 5-star rating and the other one would be a bathroom break and shit all over by the fans. So,
yep. Now, there is one heel on this show in NXT. Only one. I can only pick out one. Shayna Baszler. She truly draws heel heat and gets booed. And I'm wondering if it's because she is the MMA style, submission style, and doesn't do anything really fancy other than what her opponents do to her when she wrestles, an opponent that works that way, where the flipping and flying. So is she really a heel because the fans think, oh, she's great, she's the ace of spades or queen of spades, whatever? Or are they just booing her because they don't like her in-ring style? What do you think? She's the only legit, to me, heel, but I'm trying to figure out why in NXT.
I think it's because she's the only one who has a main roster feel to her. She doesn't feel like the happy-go-lucky NXT superstar. And realistically, you were there. How many people do you think could legitimately get booed besides her?
None, because they all have something cool for those fans to go into business with.
They're all the edgy, they're all the NWO type of trope, heels that we have that everyone wants to cheer for. I also think it's because of the connection with Ronda and the MMA and the 4 Horsewomen and all of that fun stuff. And I think people, since she's associated with something so close to the main roster, people are automatically going to be negative towards her. And the fact that she's the only one who fits the heel criteria, like you said, of course she's going to get booed. And I think she earns it. And it's not nuclear like Nia Jax heat. This is legit wrestling heat. And I think it's good. I think she's a great character. And I'm glad she has the belt.
Yeah. So I popped that she got booed. I was kind of like, wow, we got a heel here in NXT. I couldn't believe it. Let's go on to the main event. And it was, of course, Johnny Gargano versus Adam Cole. Now, we know that this probably would have been Gargano versus Ciampa had he not got hurt. Here's what I don't understand. Like, I know Gargano turned heel earlier, or a year within the last year. He's clearly a babyface now. Adam Cole's supposed to be a heel, but, Undisputed Era, DX, NWO cool. There wasn't a heel, and if anything, Adam Cole got more pop than Gargano. So as this match is going on, everybody has clearly wanted false finishes, which they got plenty of. Like, to me, this was a solid match, like, very good with the work rate, but all the falsies, I won't even say high spots, just the false finishes. It's like guys were getting kicked in the head and taking power bombs or this and that, and they were kicking out. I hate that. It's not believable with that many in one match. So what did you think? What was the best match of NXT? I think it was Riddle Velveteen.
Yeah, I would agree.
I said it. Okay.
So here's what I will say is while it's kind of like the Roman Reigns thing, I've always told you I hate Roman Reigns' moveset, but I absolutely respect him, and I can't say that enough. What I will say about Matt Riddle, and it's what I said in one of our other videos, is I love his strong style. I love him in the ring. As soon as he steps through the ropes, he is very fun to watch. I'm over the gimmick. I feel like it's overdone. I feel like it reminds me of when I was a kid, and I don't know, it just rubs me the wrong way. But if he keeps having matches
like head gimmick without the pot.
Yeah. Yeah. And, I probably would have thought that was awesome, when I was 20, like 15 years ago, but maybe I'm just grumpy old man now. I don't know. But I will say when he gets in the ring, he is amazing. And him and the Dream, in my opinion, stole the show.
Yep. And again, I gave it an A- for the experience of being there. And it is fun to banter with that crowd, but it is what it is. All right, let's go to Saturday. A couple big things happened Saturday. I did not go to either event. I did not go to Ring of Honor. I did tour Madison Square Garden on Monday. That place is awesome. Best arena in the world. I mean, the cheapest seats at any event are $85. That shows you how high class it is in there, but it's nice. They got this bridge that goes over the top of the arena that you can sit, and that's the cheap seats. And you're up there on that bridge, and you're like, how do those people over there see? It's all designed away. No matter where you are in that arena, you can see. It's weird that WWE doesn't do events there other than dark house shows. Let's talk Ring of Honor. So obviously they sold this out because you still had Omega and the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes tied to could they be there because of the all-in atmosphere. Mm-hmm. Then AEW, and it's separate now. Guess what happened? So earlier in the night at the WWE Hall of Fame, they obviously were lazy. WWE was lazy, and instead of redoing the set, because they had to instead of doing the Hall of Fame first and then setting up for wrestling, they moved NXT to Friday. So they set up for wrestling. And they didn't want to tear that down and then put it back for Raw and SmackDown. So I get why they did that, but they made it very open, more open than normal. And this Mark, MMA wanted to be, I don't know what the dirt sheets were saying. I don't care. Digging up dirt, saying he was an MMA fighter, training, I don't know, whatever. Stormed the ring in a Rasta hat, kind of like half-ass speared Bret Hart. Like, I believe if no one came into that ring, within 30 seconds, Bret would have beat that guy's ass, even in his condition. This guy looked like a puny twig. But you don't do that stuff, right? So immediately I'm sitting there thinking, wow, that sucks, And then I do like how the boys and everybody and Shane McMahon gets into the ring, apprehended him. That's what you're supposed to do. I mean, where was security? Who knows? But, the workers were sitting so close, they became the security. But why the hell did Dash Wilder, is that his name?
Yeah.
Okay, I get it, right? You don't do that. The guy was apprehended, and he gets the big shot right in the face. Of course, it's on camera. Why feel the need to take that cheap shot? Now, if Dash Wilder was one of the ones in the ring, because this guy could be off of his rocker on medication for all we know, right? And so he did what he did. He's insane. And you're hitting an insane guy that's apprehended, and everybody's popping for it. Everybody said, oh, that's for the boys. That's for Bret. I think Dash Wilder, that was stupid because cameras were rolling. And this guy, technically, who did wrong, could sue Dash Wilder. They'll probably come to some settlement. What's your thoughts on that whole scenario? And then I want to piggyback onto what we saw or heard about from Ring of Honor.
Sure. I thought it was very disrespectful of the fan to do what he did. I think he got what he deserved, frankly. And I am glad the revival, I'm glad he knocked him one, because you don't run into the ring. Yeah, Bret Hart can defend himself, but the guy's had a stroke. He's a cancer survivor. And yeah, he probably got one too many cheap shots in, but I thought it was entertaining to watch. I popped. It actually made me interested in the rest of the Hall of Fame. I know that makes me a cheap mark, but it is what it is. So yeah, I think
on you for liking a sucker punch on an apprehended.
That's right.
Person.
I'm a monster.
I get it. Okay.
But
what else? Anything else you got?
For the Hall of Fame stuff?
Yeah, like for that. I didn't watch the Hall of Fame, so the only thing that interested me was Bret.
I will say that the production team has an amazing team, because they made it cut to where you can't even tell it happened, except for after a very, very good cut that it's hard to tell Bret Hart immediately has messed up hair, and that's the only reason you know that it even happened. They did a masterful job of just eliminating that from the history. Unfortunately for them, cell phones and YouTube exist, but I'm sure they will eventually try to remove all of those videos.
So here's what happened. So that day, what we did is we went to the Empire State Building, right there. We went to Times Square, Broadway, Times Square, just looking at the magnificence of New York City, Manhattan. So we heard about through social media. We all had our phones, and we were like, I can't believe that happened, And we go get some grub, right? I think we went to a Hooters maybe. And we're sitting there and we're eating, and it was like an hour later, and they're like, same thing happened at Ring of Honor, G1 Supercard, Enzo and Cass. Now, when I heard Enzo and Cass, I'm like, no, this isn't work.
Yeah.
But I believe they made the deal with Enzo and Cass. And remember, who was the guy that said somebody needs to bring in these guys? I mean, I wasn't the only one, but all the wrestling fans shit on them, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
They're a freaking draw, and they made Ring of Honor trend after Bret getting attacked was trending when it wasn't supposed to. I believe what happened is they were going to have Enzo and Cass no matter what. I think Bully Ray had a lot to do with that because he knows the heat that they can bring, especially in Ring of Honor with those fans. I think they were going to just have him come out and do a normal entrance, promo, hey, we're here, kind of that way. I really think. I mean, I could be wrong. I think when they found out what was happening at the Barclays Center with Bret, last second, I believe they sent Enzo and Cass out in the crowd and did it that way to draw, oh my God, it happened again. You know what I mean? And with all due respect, it was like almost like at 9/11, like that building got hit by a plane. And then later on, that building got hit by a plane. And I'm not bringing that up in a distasteful way. But in the wrestling bubble, Bret got attacked at the Barclays Center at the WWE Hall of Fame. Oh my God, Enzo and Cass just jumped the rails and attacked the Briscoes and whatever at Madison Square Garden. I think that Ring of Honor did well, regardless of what was really intended. What's your thoughts on this?
So it's well established that I think Enzo is a terrible worker, but a phenomenal manager type of character. Yep. But what I will say is these guys are
baller. He's a little Italian guy,
a little scrappy guy.
Yeah.
But what I will say is I am happy that Cass looks healthy. I know he had that seizure scare. I'm happy that they're both getting paid because they're professionals. This is how they support their family. And anyone who goes on those rants, just because I don't like Matt Riddle doesn't mean I don't want this guy to have money for his family. If he does his job, he should get paid for it. And Enzo and Cass are a draw, and people will pay to see them get their ass kicked, and people will pay to watch Enzo cut the promos and hopefully lay heat into WWE. And that is a great decision by Ring of Honor. That is going to bring money and eyes to a product that, with AEW looming, they need as many eyes and new fans as they can get before the new AEW wave happens.
And right now, until AEW proves otherwise, Ring of Honor is the number 2 wrestling company in the United States.
Like you said, man, they're a t-shirt company until they get a TV deal.
All right, let's go to WrestleMania. So it was jam-packed, and let's just let the cat out of the bag. Here's your cat back there, by the way. They all went over. They all went over. Actually, I'm going to extend it. Rollins won the Universal title.
How wrong was I?
Kofi won the WWE title.
Yeah.
And, of course, Becky won both of the women's championships. And also, just to boot, why not? Guess what? Demon Finn Balor is also the Intercontinental Champion. We know the marks love him too. They paid it all off. Now, in order to make sure it looked like a traditional wrestling show, they let Shane beat Miz. But you see how they did it, right? With the suplex and his arm happened to be laying over him. They let Corbin beat Angle in his retirement match, and I believe that could be a lot on Kurt Angle wanting it to do it that way. But they all got what they want, Rob. And I just cannot believe this because I'm sitting there thinking, and I enjoyed being there. And I liked my seats. It was a fun experience. And I'm looking, at everybody popping for all those different moments. And lo and behold, within the next 24 hours after WrestleMania, I'm seeing I didn't like the LED board. It looked generic. Oh, I already don't like next year's pirate theme and logo. It looks flat. What else did I get? Gosh. Oh, yeah, of course, there were some transportation issues with Uber and stuff. But here's the deal. You're in an event. If you're in an area that you don't know anything about with 80,000 people and you know it's going to go till midnight, make plans ahead of time. Don't wait till you walk out those doors and then start calling Uber that you know is going to be surging or Lyft. So those people, you're idiots. You deserve to be caught out in the rain. Make proper plans, because I did, and I got out of there within 30 minutes.
A tourist beat the locals.
Yes. So anyway, what's your general thoughts on the payoff of all payoffs, WrestleMania 35? And it's weird to me that they did it all.
So Virtue, what the hell is happening with the Revival? That started me off on a sour note. The Revival is one of my favorite teams, and they lost. I cannot think of two bigger jobbers in the company than Zack Ryder and Kurt Hawkins.
And this is why I'm glad we talked about what we did before. Well, I don't know if they were going to be booked to lose or not. That sucker punch probably rubbed some people in the office the wrong way, because it does, even though it's for the boys, for Brett, it rubs the publicly traded company image the wrong way because the guy was restrained.
So do you think that was more so?
That has a lot to do with, I think, that happening. I do. I believe it does.
Yeah.
Especially the fact they didn't win him back. They lost again the next night.
They lost again.
Bye-bye.
Yeah, they're done. Yeah.
AEW.
Oh my God, I know that stupid Cody gif of him listening is by far probably my biggest triggers on the internet right now, which means I know you're going to send me 3 or 4 of them after the show. Next on that thing though is with Seth Rollins versus Lesnar. It opened the show, which I get why they wanted to do that. But I did not like this match. I did not like the ending, and I love Seth Rollins, but it didn't feel like a big payoff. And there's something else, a side note that I want to get into real quick. When Kofi and Seth Rollins were on Raw holding the top of their respective brands, they do not feel like main event talent to me. Now, I know Seth Rollins can be when he's a heel, but right now on that Raw, I did not view them as main event talent.
They did 1 million viewers less this year's Raw after Mania than last.
Yeah.
Because the indie looking type markish wrestlers, faves, are the champs. And it's only going to draw that 2.5 million fan base of them. That's the problem. And the ratings proved it.
Yeah. And again, I love Seth Rollins. I think Seth Rollins may be the best worker in the world right now.
And let's talk reality. He got the shit kicked out of him before that match bell even rang.
Yeah.
To me, there would have been zero chance unless somebody came out to help him. Not one little fucking.
That's what I was waiting for. I was waiting for Roman or somebody to come do something. But instead, apparently, he found Lesnar's weakness, which is something I tweeted out a few weeks back. You just kicked him in the dick or hit him low blow. And it was funny because after he got the low blow, he got hit with a curb stomp, and he was selling the low blow still and not selling the curb stomp, which made me laugh. I don't know if that was intentional on his part or not, but I wasn't happy with the way the match ended. I think Lesnar should have retained and been taken down by someone who's more capable, such as Roman Reigns.
Yep. And of course, we get, Kofi Mania, which, Billy Graham is absolutely right. If you're going to be a champion, you need to look the part. And Kofi, you have no pecs. You're a great performer at the level you've always been at. I get that you broke barriers because Vince McMahon has never booked an African-American WWE champ, all African-American until now. But it's not believable to me the way this all happened. It literally makes me think that, okay, well, according to this, Johnny Gargano can be WWE champion tomorrow. And then the week after that, maybe Kurt Hawkins can be WWE champion. Serious. I don't care. And these people that tell me Kofi deserves it 11 years in the business, dude, he's worked that long for WWE, gotten some decent mid-card matches. Why does everybody have to get to that top level for you to think they haven't had a great career? That to me is BS. So yeah. I'm still not a fan of this, although, there's video footage out there now of me chanting Kofi, Kofi.
That's true. Let me ask you this though. I don't believe that they're that invested in Kofi Kingston. And the reason I say that is because, again, he's still not featured when he walks down to the ring. And why does he not have his own music? Hogan, when he was in the NWO, still had that Voodoo Child knockoff that he came out to. Everyone who's the leader of a faction or a champion, they should have a non-generic faction-based entrance. And Kofi doesn't. He has the same ring attire as everyone else in the New Day. He looks like a New Day lackey. He doesn't look like a champion. He doesn't stand on his own. And quite frankly, I'm already bored.
The WWE is just going to play it off as the flavor of the month, put the belt on him, the strap, and make a couple new T-shirts. But we won't change anything else because our ultimate plan is to put him back where he was, like we did Jinder.
Yeah.
And they're only doing this to sell a few shirts to the marks who are in a craze right now. But mark my words, WWE made a huge mistake by putting the title on all three of the darlings. And like I said, fourth if you count Finn Balor in one big show, because now what are these fans looking forward to? They're going to get bored and they're going to start wanting the next round sooner rather than later, how it could have been if they didn't pay it all off yet. We talked about that. We knew they were going to pay some of it off. I can't believe they did it all because these fans will turn. They're going to turn on somebody, and hopefully WWE's ahead of the curve, and like maybe they can push Biggie and Woods' heels out of this. Or, I mean, think about this, Rob. What happened to like Charlotte loses her belt without getting pinned? We didn't even see her this week on Raw or SmackDown. Daniel Bryan loses. We didn't even see him. Obviously, we knew Brock Lesnar was getting out of here, so that I understand. But are they trying to make WrestleMania feel that important that some of these big stars just don't even show up to Raw and SmackDown because it's so trivial at that point? And I know they don't do rematches the way they do anymore, but like Charlotte, if anything, has a beef. But, maybe they'll pay it off next week where she brings it up. But I thought Raw and SmackDown was very flat. And they tried to make interesting things happen, but it was just bait and switch.
Yeah. I don't know with the Charlotte having the rights to get a rematch because, if we could jump ahead a little bit to that match, just the ending of it, when Becky pinned Ronda kicked out. Yep. And Michael Cole and Corey Graves both drew attention to that. Do you think that was a mistake by Ronda, or was this an old school Hulk Hogan style of, I don't want to do the job, I think I'm a bigger star? She acts like she's bigger than the business itself. So was that a green mistake, or was that some vindictiveness on the part of Ronda Rousey at the biggest event of biggest events?
I'm thinking it was a mistake, and the reason why it happened, because Charlotte wasn't in the exact finish. I believe she was supposed to take that roll up or whatever that was there from Becky. I believe that was supposed to be the finish of the match. But the problem is they probably talked to her about as soon as that ref counts 3, kick out, because then you can make it look like it could have been controversial. It was so close. But when you do something like that, you're prone to the mistake. And I think what happened is they wanted to make it look so close, she kicked out too early. And you had Charlotte in that spot, I bet you it would have probably looked better. They would have got to the exact finish how they wanted. So I don't think it was a swerve or a work or anything. I think they were supposed to have a close call finish for Becky to win. They didn't want to tap out Ronda to protect her in case she comes back.
Right.
But they probably wanted, they knew the fans wanted to see Ronda and Becky in the finish without Charlotte. But, so obviously it would have meant a pin so you could protect Ronda. And I think in order to protect Ronda even more, they said make it as close as you can. While 2 girls like that and the pressure like that, that's what happened. It looked like she kicked out.
Fair enough.
That's my take.
Yeah, man, I like the industry insight that you bring to that. So what other match? There was
we had
Triple H
and Batista. So, Batista tripped into the ring, and I felt so bad when that happened because I knew the internet was going to spoil on probably his last match. Although he did a pretty good job. He didn't flat face it. He caught himself with his hands and popped right back up. I just feel, like I said, I feel bad because I just think the fans just didn't want to like this match. but Batista and Triple H both went to work. Batista took some very, very good bumps, and good for him. But the only thing I remember is checking social media right after and people mocking him for his trip and his wrinkly head. I mean, Triple H has a wrinkly head too. They're getting old, people. What do you expect? You know what I mean? In Hollywood, when he plays Drax, they can cover it up. And people, oh, look at his ugly tattoos. Like, shut the F up, you stupid morons, and just enjoy these larger-than-life stars. That's my take on that match. What do you think?
So I thought the match was better than I expected. There was some really good sells. I was shocked that Batista took a powerbomb on the 10,000-pound steel steps or whatever they're supposed to be. But that looked painful, right?
Only one John Cena lifts them.
Right. Yeah. They had the table didn't break twice. I don't know if that was by design, but those looked painful. Yeah, and Triple H went over, which rightfully so. His entrance wasn't that good. So yeah, I figured Triple H was going to win the match. But yeah, I did notice Batista's brain head thing, and I did make comments to the people I was watching with. We all saw him fall, but no one in my age group, which I'm in my mid-30s, no one really gave a shit. So it's probably just the millennial children on social media that freak out and point those things out. Yeah, man, I thought the match was great. It got a good reaction for everyone I watched it with. It was hard hitting, and I thought it was a solid end. And I thought Batista got a good send off. He went out how he wanted. He took the bumps. He shows he could still go. I thought it was good.
And we got a Hulk Hogan appearance again at WrestleMania. Just short and sweet, but it was what it was. Elias did his little thing. A lot of it was pre-tape, but it was still cool. And we got the Doctor of Thugonomics finally. But I think like 5 or 6 years too late, where it could have been really meaningful on a Cena heel turn. But back in the
prime, the wrong match. That should have been the Angle match. How cool would that have been?
I know, they just don't. Dude, and I also heard that Taker was there. They didn't use him, and of course they used him Raw. So like, what the? Of course, Elias got the Cena and Taker rub, but Elias was always looking foolish. So is it really the rub? Well,
remember when people were saying the same thing about Rusev and Lana getting the rub from The Rock on their burial trip to the bottom? I mean, it doesn't always help when somebody crushes you. No pun to Rusev.
Yeah. And then, of course, let's talk about Roman and Drew. I'm upset at WWE for putting this match after Kofi and Bryan.
Yeah.
Because as it was going on, people were restless. The upper bowl was starting to do the wave. And, these two guys are not what today's wrestling mark likes. Their styles. They're serious, hard hitter, slower pace, work to the 5 moves of doom. And it's just ridiculous that fans at least can't play their part. They know it's only going to be an 8 to 10 minute match, and they can't play along. They just have to go into business and whoa. What I took most out of this, I did not know it was the anniversary of Rosie's death, who was Roman's brother. You remember Rosie?
Yeah.
And on top of that,
superhero in training, right?
We didn't know, yeah. And we didn't know that, if Roman was going to be back and when from the leukemia, and the fact that he came back and has been able to perform in front of 80,000 people. He did have that little prayer moment at the end of the match afterwards. And, if anything, I see Charlotte cry too much, Sasha, the Iconics, too much crying in wrestling. Roman's was probably, I don't know if he cried, but the emotional thing, knowing that was the anniversary of the death of his brother, and that he beat leukemia again, that was one of my biggest, call me the Roman Mark, everybody. That was one of the most real life feelings, and I felt it. Like I had chills up my spine, dude.
What was the crowd reaction to Roman?
It was more cheers and boos, but it was, we're restless. We just got done with that Kofi and Bryan match, and we still got to wait.
That was 5 hours in.
I know, but nobody said this is boring, or there might have been a few marks that did that, but most of it was they were trying to do the wave in the upper bowl because they weren't flipping and flying, so they just didn't give it the love like they would the other matches. But it wasn't like a Jinder Roman beach ball type.
And I don't get it. Drew McIntyre is a very, very talented big man. And I feel that today, and here's the thing, how do you boo Drew McIntyre and cheer for Walter? What world are we living in?
That's a great dude.
Yeah, and that just kind of hit me hard because that bothers me because growing up, the Kevin Nash, the Giant, Psycho Sid, you always had big guys and they were always a big part of the story. I really want to see McIntyre, and I think he will. I think whatever brand, I think he's going to end up on SmackDown. He'll probably end up with a title, but people don't appreciate the big man. And I'm going to tell you this right now. My least favorite part of NXT, my least favorite part of all of these newer stars is I hate the flippy stuff. I hate, and if it doesn't mean anything, if it's just you're doing flips and false finishes for the sakes of it, that's boring to me. That's not fun to watch because then it takes away. Like, I don't believe the near falls hardly at all anymore because unless it's like the third finisher, I don't even care. I don't even really look up from my phone if that's that case a lot of the time.
I agree. And of course, oh yeah, I almost forgot Joe squashed Ray. Ray was banged up.
He was hurt.
And they probably needed to cut down somewhere on time. So I did not have a problem with this.
Joe got his win. He got his WrestleMania moment. Good for him.
But, it just seemed like everybody gets a WrestleMania moment these days, from Kurt
Hawkins.
He
deserves it.
Kurt Hawkins, the Iconics, to just way too many. Remember when it was just like one or two?
Yeah.
Now it's like every match has to try to steal the show. That's not the structure of a wrestling show. Yeah, you make your match, and some matches should know their role is what they're supposed to be, but the fans want to cheer what the fans want to cheer, and shit on everything else. Dude, that's pretty much all I got. I mean, is there anything else that as I'm hitting my light off here, do you want to talk about, like, from Raw or SmackDown, besides Raw being 1 million lower this year after Mania than last? Might I add, with all of these new champions that everybody just had to see win.
Yeah, I just had a couple things to touch on. One, Sami Zayn is awesome, and his new gimmick is very entertaining, and I smugly laughed through his entire promo while looking down my glasses.
That's like maybe I'm a consultant with WWE and they're using my ideas there with that. Here's my only problem with it. It's great. Sammy kind of turned heel before and kind of lashed out at the fans. Not at this level. So I don't want this to be a rehash, and then he gets to say some cool stuff for a couple weeks, and then he's just back into doing matches.
Right.
Russo said it best. Sammy's coming out cutting the promo Roman should have 2 years ago. Disco Inferno said that. Okay, well, that didn't happen. It is what it is. So Sammy's cutting it now. But he's getting cheered because, if, like Elias, when he was healed, the fans love being insulted by the guys they like. So they're not going to boo. Vince Russo, again, and there's people out there that still shit on Vince Russo. He knows his shit, people, because he's been there. He's written segments that are the highest rated of all time. This Is Your Life with The Rock and Mick Foley. But seriously, he said all Sami Zayn had to say in that same promo about 3 or 4 times is when he referred to the crowd, use the word mark. They would have turned on him so fast, and he would have got that heat. Got that boo, because that's insulting to them. That's the only nitpick I had. I wish they would actually let go that far into actually just shooting on the, instead of this work shooting stuff. But it is what it is, man. I am intrigued by it. When I see Sami Zayn now, I'm going to want to hear what he has to say.
For sure. And then what else is on my list here? Was that Bray Wyatt's new gimmick? Was it like an evil Socko looking puppet?
110%. And here's my thoughts on this. So, it's goofy, people are saying gobbledygooker, it's obviously some buzzard puppet. He was laughing and it started coughing like on the dust or the smoke. It almost makes me think that this is going to turn into Bray coming back, but we're going to he's going to be a character baby face rather than Bray Wyatt, like similar to how when Mick Foley was Mankind and then all of a sudden he was Mick Foley. You knew he was Dude Love, Cactus Jack, Mick Foley, and then he became that goofy Mankind character with the corporation angle, where he ended up having a great feud with The Rock and became the champ. I really hope they do something like this with Bray now upon his return. And maybe he shoots. He says, you made my father a tax agent. You made my Uncle Barry a stalker. You're trying to make me this leader, this cult leader. But here you know what I mean? Like, just break the fourth wall down. And to me, this might just be scary Bray coming back. But we'll see. I mean, I'm 90% guaranteed this is going to be Bray.
Okay. Lars Sullivan. Are you sold on Lars? Is he a freak, and is he going to be the next big thing? How long until he is with the No Way Jose Congo line?
I'm not sold because First of all, we already know he was supposedly going to work a program with Cena or somebody big, and he had those issues with being scared or panic attacks. Look what they've done with Braun Strowman. Now, I know on SmackDown, Braun came out to tease a superstar shakeup and attacked Joe. But ultimately, you see how they think of big men. And Strowman was over with the fans. I mean, him and Roman had a great feud. People hated Roman. It helped Strowman get up there, and they still didn't do anything with Strowman. So to me, I'm not going to believe that unless his name is a Brock Lesnar or Roman Reigns, that a big guy, superhero-looking monster-type guy will officially get over until I actually see it happen. So to me, nothing against Lars, but is he going to need a manager? Is he going to be able to talk on the mic? There's so many questions I don't know yet. And they're going to drag – right now he feels like Ryback.
Yeah, I was going to say if Gene Snitsky and Ryback had a kid, it would be Lars Sullivan.
I mean, I do. I really like Ryback post WWE when he shoots on the fans all the time.
He's a fun Twitter follow if no one follows him. Yeah,
Ryback is. I mean, a lot of people said he never got over, and it was Goldberg. I remember Feed Me More.
Absolutely.
The arena. He was just victim of politicking.
And then the very last thing on here, how do you feel about the Hardy Boys?
Good for them, because a year ago I thought Matt was retiring and he had some serious issues with his hip and back. And it's good to see them get one more run again. Where is it going to lead? I don't know. But it's good to see them
for a few months, I'd say.
When I was at Mania and they came out and their music played, being there in the stadium, it just, you get those memories. They flood, and I like it. To me, it's when you do a nostalgia act right, it's the Hardy Boys. That's how you do it right.
And I guess
Kurt Angle is how you do it wrong. And maybe Kurt wanted it that way to a point. I don't know. Hardy Boys are how you do it right.
And then final bonus question. Was seeing The Undertaker more exciting for you or depressing for you?
It would have been cool on Raw. Like, I could imagine could you imagine if Cena came out to do that, cut that promo on Elias, and before he got his shit in, now Undertaker came out and they're all in the ring, and who knows how they would have booked that finish. Maybe they would have both taken turns on Elias. It just didn't mean anything to me on Raw. And I felt now, looking back at Raw, how they did that crappy finish on the title match that really never happened.
That was so
They just put Undertaker on Raw to make the fans think they got something special.
Yeah.
But they didn't. It would have meant more at Mania.
I agree. That's all I have from the 37 hours of wrestling from this week.
And that's why we're longer, Noel. Sorry, you're going to have like a 45-minute video this time, but it is what it is. And that's all I got too. So take it home.
You guys can follow me on Twitter at Xenomecha, Xenomecha. There are a plethora of places that you can see not only myself, but Mr. Virtue here. Virtue, where are those places?
Well, we're going to start right here on the BigVitoBrand.com. Rob and I do Virtue's brand of wrestling every week, normally on Tuesday, but with my travels in New York City, we're a day late. Also here on the BigVitoBrand.com, I do Getting Color with Vito. Of course, since I was at Mania this past Sunday, I just kind of, he went solo, and then I did a little video recap afterwards, and I like how Noel intertwined them together. And then you can also catch Rob and I like every 3 weeks or so on Wrestling with Virtue over on Andre Corbeil's site, WrestlingWithWrestling.com. And then, of course, I am No DQ Virtue for a reason, because we do a bunch of content on NoDQ.com with Aaron Rift. And like I keep saying, like a broken record, this is
every episode.
This is our Bray Wyatt buzzard puppet out of a box thing.
That's right.
Maybe we'll start making teasers for Rob, at least to start as an alternate for the No DQ review. So I think they're afraid of you over there, Rob, because you got professional equipment. You and I make a good combo, and I think it's politics over now keeping you held down. So
I'll moderate one of your
guys' reviews.